Hello folks, this is Dhruv with my mates Jay and Amaya, and we are here back with the third episode of Across the Astroverse. So it's been a long time since we shot episode 2, but we are back at it. And we are here with few hot topics I'd say. Lately I've seen Sunita Williams in the news, and they claim that she has been lost in space. Is there some truth to it?
Okay, so let me answer that by clearing some misconceptions about this. Basically, Sunita Williams is a trained astronaut. Firstly, so she was trained and she was expected to stay in space for a long time. So even if the mission duration has been shifted from days to months, it is still okay because she's a trained veteran. Okay. Secondly, I have never heard anyone talk about her partner. Firstly, let me address that Sunita Williams was not the only person that Boeing chose to go into to ISS. Her partner was Butch Wilmore. So they both were chosen by Boeing to go to basically demonstrate their spacecraft, that is Starliner, to successfully dock into ISS, carrying a crew aboard. Okay. So so I'll just go back into history. So this whole program started in 2011. So basically NASA, after NASA retired its space shuttle vehicle, they had no other vehicle, very reliable vehicle to reach into orbit.
Okay. I mean, after SpaceX, right? Because SpaceX came in between and they did the whole Dragon testing and launching and all.
That is right. But SpaceX came in 2020.
Right.
So for 9 years.
9 years there was nobody, and that's why I think that the astronaut, the frequency of astronauts going to space from US was very less.
Very less, yeah. And
apart from them, I think the only ones doing this was Russia, right?
Yeah. So US
I think
was
Russia
entirely
and China.
Yes. So US was entirely dependent on Russian Soyuz capsule.
Yeah.
So to avoid that, NASA came up with the plan of using private companies to launch into orbit. So in this contract, 2 companies were rewarded.
SpaceX and Blue Planet?
No.
Blue Origin, I think.
Blue Origin.
That is, Blue Origin was not chosen. But yeah, SpaceX was chosen, and along with SpaceX, Boeing was chosen. Okay. So they both were given a deadline about in about 2 years, that is 2013. Thus, they had to demonstrate the capability to launch into orbit and then dock with the ISS. Okay. So now here the fun begins. So basically, SpaceX was able to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. They created a Dragon capsule.
Which was actually a very huge success. I mean, now it's almost every 2 weeks.
Yes, absolutely.
Some launch is happening.
It's an innovation too.
I mean, it feels like a first class travel in that space capsule versus a Soyuz capsule.
It is beyond amazing. Okay. So SpaceX was able to do in 2013. They did an uncrewed version, but they docked successfully with ISS. And then, just like Boeing Starliner, even SpaceX chose 2 astronauts. People don't know about this. It is Bob Behnken and I think Doug Hurley. Okay, these 2 astronauts were chosen by SpaceX to be inside the capsule and to launch into orbit and dock into ISS. Basically, दिखा रहा था कि the Dragon capsule is capable to support humans till ISS. Mission.
So this mission happened?
It's absolutely happened back in 2020.
Is it not known much?
It is not known much, maybe because people hate SpaceX, or there is a common dislike in space for SpaceX. I'm not sure why.
Could be because of
Elon. Maybe it's just a controversial topic.
Him and his connections.
Yeah, him and his connections. So SpaceX was able to do it in 2020. So just like SpaceX, even Boeing had to show some results, right? So they successfully docked into orbit, into ISS, without a crew. Okay, and then they had to show with the crew.
Right.
So for that crew mission, they chose 2 astronauts, that is Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore.
Right.
Okay. So now they launched. Obviously the launch was perfect. They launched, and then while docking, the issue came while docking.
Okay.
So basically, the Starliner spacecraft has thrusters in it to adjust its course. So out of all the thrusters, 6 of them went offline engineers still don't know why. What was the reason? Exactly.
It was like a kind of a glitch.
Malfunction.
Out of how many thrusters?
I'm not sure. We'll put it here. Okay. We'll put it here. So and because of this incident, NASA has lost confidence in Boeing Starliner. That was the only reason.
Yeah.
That does
Okay.
make sense.
Yeah. After docking, Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore stayed there for 6 or 8 days. Sorry, the original mission was for 8 days. After 8 days, what NASA decided is that we will not risk our astronauts. After the Challenger mission failure, we all know Kalpana Chawla. Unfortunately, they were not willing to take any risks. So what they did, they sent the Starliner back into Earth's orbit without astronauts. Okay, and to be
from the ISS
to Earth's ground surface.
Yeah,
because-
without the astronaut.
Yeah.
Because they did not want to take the risk.
There was no chance. And why they did so? Because the ISS or the the American side of ISS has only 2 docking ports.
Right.
One is already occupied with the Crew 8 of Dragon capsule.
Yeah.
One was with Starliner.
Hmm.
So they wanted a free docking
Port.
side. Yeah.
Because-
So that's why they had to
Yeah.
recover.
Yeah. So they had to make some space. So they chose to let go of Starliner and
Assign. Boeing.
assign. I'll tell you.
Hmm.
So and then they let go, and then the Starliner, surprisingly, it went flawless. It enters Earth's orbit. It landed perfectly. There was no problem, no complications. Okay, so you can see Starliner is not exactly a failure. It's just because that of one critical malfunction that NASA has basically lost confidence. And I'm telling you that Boeing Starliner will come back. Second mission will come back.
Wasn't it anyways the right thing to do? Like if you
Yeah,
have even like a 1% risk of putting the astronauts
Yeah.
in danger, it's better to just not take that risk.
Especially with the history of them losing many astronauts.
There is
Yeah,
unfortunately-
because
Yeah.
like, it
People
has happened in
learn
the
over it.
past. So why do you want to repeat something?
Yeah.
So yeah.
and space, space is hard.
Hmm.
However, like precautions you take, there are unknown factors, uncertainties. We have to accept that. Okay, and then so basically this is the whole story of Starliner, and why Sunita Williams is still stuck in space is because there is no capsule right now in ISS.
Hmm.
So to bring her back, instead of contacting Boeing,
Hmm.
NASA chose to go with obviously SpaceX because they have a very flawless track record, 100%
more
success.
successful rate. Yeah.
No complications. So now, in February of next year, SpaceX will dock with ISS and it will bring down Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams. So there's
But then why didn't they just get them in like this year? A little bit, because she's been stuck in space for the last I think 1 or
Many
2 months,
months.
many months now.
Yeah.
So why not before? Like were there like legal reasons that they had to switch from Boeing to SpaceX?
So I think it has to do with the safety precautions. They have to be sure that the same mistake does not happen again.
Absolutely.
I mean they have to do the test. But as you mentioned that SpaceX is like really successful and has shown confidence to NASA and all also. NASA is confident about SpaceX.
Yep.
So why couldn't they just do it before and get them back?
Okay, so there are technical challenges even in this. SpaceX Dragon capsule can only accommodate 4 people, and there has to be a continuous supply of astronauts into ISS. So the Crew 8 could not do it because it also has cargo for the entire people in ISS. So instead of that, what NASA has chosen is that in the next Crew Dragon capsule, instead of 4 people, they'll send 2 people, 2 astronauts, and 2 seats will be empty.
Okay, so for
while
the two
coming
of
back,
them to
yeah.
come back, yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
That's the whole idea. And the misconception, I hope the misconception is clear that Sunita Williams is
I
stuck
mean,
in space.
Because
She's
the
not.
first thing that came out on everybody's headlines and news
Yeah.
and everything is Sunita Williams stuck in space. And it was like everybody was, since I am also a space enthusiast, everybody was asking me why she's stuck, why is nobody bringing her back? Like she's not stuck, she is a proper trained astronaut.
Exactly.
I think
So-
it's a big trend nowadays. We see everything on social media. We get
Yeah.
our news from social
The first-
media,
yeah,
which
we
is
first hear
first
you
of
on
all a
social
big
media.
danger.
But I mean, even the news is just like Sunita Williams stuck in space.
Exactly,
And
they do
unfortunately-
this to get more views.
And unfortunately, no one remembers the partner's name.
Exactly.
It-
Yeah.
it's
There is
sad.
Butch Wilmore
Which
also.
will
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
So I think that answers your question.
I feel bad for Butch.
Unfortunately.
So
we live in a society, I guess.
yeah.
I think we should move on to the next, that is SpaceX.
Huh?
We just did it. We should move on to ISRO. What are they up to and what are their future plans?
Oh, so as we know now, ISRO is we have very good successful mission in the past few years. This year we're focusing more on the Gaganyaan mission. I think we spoke about it in the last podcast also, where we spoke about we just touched the topic.
It was not in depth.
So I'll just go in a little bit more in depth about the topic. So there is the Gaganyaan mission. It's a crewed mission which we are planning to send 4 astronauts. 4 astronauts who are from the Indian Army. They are going to go and they are going to basically be in space for some time. I think how many? 3 days. I think. So 3 days they're going to be in space at around atmosphere like a height of 400 kilometers in the atmosphere. There is the rocket that is supposed to send them is the LMV. The new, it's like a customized one with a crewed capsule, you can say. So that is the entire mission. Main reason we want to do this mission is because India wants to prove that we are one of those countries that are capable of sending people to space. So as we've already mentioned that there are right now only 3 main countries which are sending astronauts to space, which is US, Russia and China. And India wants to become a powerhouse, attract more publicity, be more in the space sector. So I think it's a very good initiative, and
I think there is a space race that is going to happen.
The space
This
race
is
part
the
1
second-
already happened.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
like
the second space race.
And I think
we are
ISRO
officially
wants
in.
to be a leader in the space
Yeah.
race. That's the reason they want to.
So right now it starts with astronauts, and I think the future missions also have the Indian space station. So we will make a space station as well for the Indians. So doing so will allow Indians to send more astronauts to space, and I think that is what makes it fun for the upcoming years.
I think ISRO is already leading in satellite launches, right? I think they did a record of around 144 satellites launched, right?
In one launch.
In
There-
one launch.
Yeah, in one launch.
That was
There are also like many you can say events or space launches with other countries like US.
I think even Russia's satellite.
Yeah,
was-
exactly.
All over the world.
All of them.
All over the world. So it is interesting, and
We live in the day and age where 144 satellites are being launched at once.
What do you
Just
think?
process that.
What do you think? When will the Gaganyaan mission take place?
I think it is scheduled to be tested in 2025, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just fact check that. I mean, the team
The
can
year
fact
we
check
mentioned
it later. It is 2025, I think. Recently there was that abort mission. That was the abort testing. It was quite important because it was testing the escape plan if something was supposed to go wrong. So if something went wrong, then how do the astronauts escape from it mid-flight?
So
Like the
sort-
capsule. So
Sort of an escape plan.
yeah, so sort of a backup, like how do you escape, how do you save the life. So I think that was a very important thing, which was quite successful. It seems interesting, and I think these guys, the astronauts, are also training in the headquarters in Russia, I think, where they're doing same training about how to fly, how to maneuver, how to be safe in space. So seems interesting.
That's interesting.
It's a big step for India, and I hope that everything goes very well planned, and it will obviously lead to more launches in the future, and hopefully it becomes like a powerhouse in space.
There was this thing back in the days. We used to wish to become an astronaut.
Yeah,
Used to aspire to be an
I
astronaut.
still am wishing that,
I mean,
despite my
ISRO-
qualifications.
So the thing is, kids don't wish to be an astronaut nowadays. They have lost that aspiration. But I think if this really works, I think those days are coming back. I think kids will wish
A
to be the
generation
new
of-
generation
yeah,
of
inspired
astronaut.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of NASA and ISRO
Mm.
collabs also which are taking place, like for satellites also, and even I mean, Sunita Williams is after all an Indian kind of origin.
Indian origin.
Indian origin.
Born in
So yeah,
Okay,
Indian
however,
origin. So makes sense. So yeah, I mean, there will be a lot of more collaboration, and India will become, I guess, a big
people like
sector.
Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams has always been inspiration, especially
Yeah.
Rakesh Sharma.
Yeah.
I think this new mission will inspire a lot of young Indians
Hmm.
basically
Yeah.
to
I hope
follow
it
this
does.
career path. Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we are going towards the topic of space, like launching people into space, what's going on with SpaceX? I mean, there was a huge headline, huge. Everywhere
The
there was only
Rocket catch.
the rocket catch in between.
How
the
was that
two,
even possible?
what is this? Something.
When
Not worry.
rest of
Yeah.
the world is out there just catching their rockets wherever they land.
They're not even
They-
catching. I mean, most of the countries are still struggling to do
Yeah.
such a thing.
What they
To
do is
even
they
launch
plan
it.
to
And SpaceX already had the entire booster coming back onto their drones, onto their designated landing space, and it was already a very big phenomenon. And now they've come up with this. So I want to know, like, why are they doing it? I mean, obviously it required a lot of engineering, a lot of budgeting, a lot of brains into putting that. So why are they doing it?
Yeah, so basically, the first I like to address this first, that SpaceX has done a huge, like a huge commitment and a huge achievement, I say, in space industry. Basically, it's an innovation. Okay, why I'm saying this, because they have launched and recovered more times than people have even launched successfully. The companies have even launched. That is 200 plus. It's in 1 year. It's an extremely
Very,
impressive.
very big.
Yeah. So as you said, that SpaceX was already extremely, it was
They were innovative. They were the
Yeah.
first in the line to do such a thing.
exactly. I think no one had even attempted this. Okay,
Yeah.
and they already have 2 operational vehicles in their fleets. Both are reusable. That is, one is the Falcon 9
Falcon 9.
rocket, and second is the Falcon Heavy. That is derived from the same Falcon family. Okay.
Which one did they use to catch?
I'll tell you. Okay, so for that they use a separate vehicle. They are
Okay.
developing a new vehicle that is called a Starship.
This Starship,
Starship.
it's supposed to take. Elon's idea is it's supposed to take people to Mars.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why is he so obsessed with Mars though?
Yeah, there are multiple reasons for that. We'll first talk about the reusable part. Okay, so
We'll discuss it
We
if
will
it
discuss
fits
it.
in our time. So yeah.
because
Yeah.
it
Our-
can go on for a
our
long time.
team over here is anyways being like time over.
It's a very in-depth topic. We'll discuss it for some day. So basically, Starship was designed with the concept of full reusability. Now, people ask that wasn't Falcon 9 already reusable? So to answer that, Falcon 9 is not 100% reusable. Okay. Falcon 9 is comprised of 2 stages. Okay. If anyone has a page, give me that marker. Yeah. Okay. So imagine this is a Falcon 9 vehicle. So it's comprised of 2 stages. This is the booster stage. This is the second stage. So the satellites are in the second stage. Okay. So these are integrated in one part, and when it launches, it launches about to altitude about, I think, 60 to 70 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and then it separates. Okay. So when it separates, it comes down. The booster comes down.
Yeah.
And it lands. Yeah,
And it
towards
lands.
Earth.
Yeah.
There are multiple landing locations, but they land. But only the booster lands.
Right.
The actual satellite component of the second stage is not reusable. It
Right.
goes on.
I mean,
orbit.
it goes
In
to
an orbit.
space. It opens
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
It does
the
its
satellite.
job. Yeah, serves
Exactly.
its purpose.
Yeah.
serves its purpose. So to counter that, and basically it's not a super heavy lift rocket. The maximum capacity is not beyond 15 tons.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So to counter that, SpaceX came up with a new idea. Okay. So even Starship, the new rocket that we was talking about, it is also comprised of 2 stages. The first stage is called as Super Heavy Booster.
Okay.
Second is called as the Starship.
Right.
Which is
The main component.
which will have the satellites or everything.
Hmm.
So together, also it's called as Starship.
Okay.
So the main idea is that it launches, obviously.
Right.
It launches into orbit. It separates,
Hmm.
and the booster comes back. Now, why not? So there's a very common question that why not just land the booster like the Falcon 9?
Yeah, like how they have been doing it for all
Using
these
landing
years.
legs, yeah. Why not that? So, let me answer you that because Falcon 9 is a very, very light rocket
Hmm.
as compared to Starship.
Okay.
Starship's capacity to launch mass into low Earth orbit is 100 tons.
Okay.
Falcon 9 is only 15 tons.
Yeah.
That is also
1.5.
1.5.
That's
It's
a
a-
huge
that is a
difference.
huge
Yeah,
difference.
Falcon 9 comes under the medium to large satellite group, large launch vehicles. But the Starship comes under super heavy launch vehicle. And to top that, you guys must know about the Saturn V vehicle that took people to moon back in
Yeah.
1967 ke around.
Yes.
Apollo missions, obviously.
Apollo missions.
So the Saturn V, immensely powerful it is. It uses 33 engines for the first stage and 6 engines for the second stage. So it is extremely powerful and extremely reliable rocket. So now, to cut down the costs, basically the whole purpose is to cut down the cost. Imagine you have to travel to, let's say, US right now. You take a flight, right? So if I were to tell you that the flights are being made after each launch, what do you think will the cost of per seat?
So I
Oh,
fly to US and then
millions.
I have to take another flight.
You have to construct a new flight.
Construct a new flight. Yeah, obviously it will cost a lot.
So millions per year. So to counter that, what do aerospace companies do? They just land it, fill fuel, and relaunch it.
Oh, that's
Okay, so how many relaunches can this be used?
Okay, yeah. So till now, Starship has not reached orbital velocity.
Okay.
But it is going to surpass it in 2025, next year. Okay,
That's close. We are
And-
close to the next year.
very close. Yeah, and
Probably this episode will launch by the next year.
next year.
yeah. So by the time already the sixth flight just took place a few days back. 7th will take place in somewhere between January mid next year. Okay. So so the whole concept is to reduce down the cost.
Right.
Just use it like a aeroplane. Just launch it. It
Let
lands.
it come back, reuse it, they refill it and
Yeah.
reuse it.
And even something that is innovative, even more than the Falcon 9.
I think the catcher itself, right?
Yeah.
How is
So-
that?
Okay, so the tower is firstly called Mechazilla.
Because
Mechazilla
That is a good name. I think
That's a
Elon is
cool name.
Elon is always known for naming stuff very nicely, even his child. So
I think. How do you pronounce his child's name?
I don't know. I think
AEX.
it's XEA12 something like that. Terminator.
The real name will be.
The real name will be here.
Okay, so yeah, SpaceX team has a tendency of like using very
very
nerdy and geeky
Yeah.
names.
Yeah, I think
Mechazilla.
even one of the rocket land, like the boosters where they're landing on the drone ship. The drone ship itself is named PS I Love You.
Yeah.
Yeah, even his
It
name.
is so interesting.
If you take the initials of his car's name, the Tesla model names, it will make up something which I won't say.
It is called
You can see it over here if that's possible.
Yeah. So coming back to the Starship launch, so like you asked a very good question that why do we need a tower? Why not just land it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the other booster.
And how is that such a big deal?
Yeah. So basically, Falcon 9 is a light rocket, as I told you. It can land on landing legs. If the SpaceX team were to install landing legs on the Super Heavy booster and the Starship, it will add a lot of mass to the
Right.
vehicle, which they do not want.
Okay.
To counter that,
It's
came
already
in-
so heavy. So
it's already heavy. Yeah. So and because of this approach, they are able to launch 100 tons of mass.
right.
Like imagine if there was a landing leg, the
I mean,
the weight
the
would be
payload itself will cut down,
the
so
cargo,
it makes
exactly.
sense.
So they came up with a new idea to remove the landing legs out of the rocket and into a separate stage. So now, as I told you, this is the first stage, the Super Heavy booster. The Starship is the second stage. The actual launcher, the tower, and the deck where the rocket is kept is actually called a stage 0.
Because it's the base.
It's the base. You cannot launch it without. So they, how it works is that the Super Heavy booster separates, the Starship separates. Then the Super Heavy booster does a boost back burn to get close to the launch site, and then it just does a free fall.
Right.
Okay.
And it just like maneuvers
I
in
think
space.
right when it's about to land, it uses its thrusters to get back into,
like
to get the
kind of
positioning right
levitate
and
and
reposition it
come
and
back into
to
the
cancel the
attach
velocity.
itself to the
Yeah.
catcher.
Yeah. So out of the 33 engines, they relight 13 engines for a few seconds. Then they cut down to 3 engines.
Okay.
When the velocity is very low and they have to only maneuver into the tower, they cut down to 3 engines.
Okay.
And then let's say this looks like a tower.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it just, the velocity keeps on reducing, and at a point it does a correction, like course adjustment.
Yeah,
And then
come
it
inside
just
the-
moves in a trajectory to
Yeah.
get in the position. Right?
Yeah, and then the tower just closes down on the ship, and that's how they catch the booster. And why do they catch the booster? Is because they can now just lift it up again, keep on the launch pad,
and
fuel
launch
it.
That
That's
is so cool.
That is so cool.
Falcon 9 right now, when it lands on a drone ship, the drone ship itself has to come back to land.
Yeah,
That
makes
is
sense
true,
because
yeah.
you have to
And
do
it's a
transport
big
costs.
task. I
Do this,
think
do that. I mean, how easier is it that the rocket itself is coming back to you?
Just like an aeroplane.
Right.
Exactly.
And do they dismantle it to get it back to the base?
Absolutely not.
So
That's
you
the
just
beauty of
go, refuel
Wow.
it, and you're ready for launch.
Absolutely not.
That is sick engineering.
Yeah. So this is only the booster.
That is like every engineer's dream to make something like that.
So this is the booster. Now the second ship, that is the most important part, because
Yeah,
this
the
will carry
payload.
the payloads. Now they just can't do a free fall and catch it, because there's a key difference in both the vehicles. Booster can it only reaches about 8,000 kilometers per hour speed, but the Starship itself, as it's supposed to get into a lower orbit, it has to reach, mark my words, it has to reach a speed of about 26,000 kilometers.
26,000 kilometers per hour.
That is extremely fast.
Yeah.
You can't just come down. It will, like, it's a hypersonic speed. So now and by the way, Starship has landing legs. Okay? They are the initial plans are to land it on land, just like a Falcon 9 booster. But eventually they want to land this just like the Super Heavy booster with the catch tower.
With the tower.
But eventually, once they master this maneuver. So what the Starship does is that it has heat shields.
Yeah.
Heat shields on its frontal side, where the Starship or the vehicle encounters the atmosphere. Okay. Heat shields are supposed to shield it from the intense heat of compression, because it's moving at such a hypersonic
High
speed
speed, yeah.
that the air in front of it gets compressed to a ridiculously hot amount. It's about the temperature we displayed here. It's an extremely hot amount. So
does
the
it break the supersonic barrier by doing so?
it is beyond the supersonic
It's
speed.
beyond.
Supersonic barrier is broken at supersonic speeds. This is going at Mach 10 or 12 something. Supersonic breaks at Mach 1 at speed of sound.
It's going twice.
It's getting 10 to 12 times.
Mach 10.
Okay,
Mach
Mach
10.
10. Sorry, my bad.
Extremely fast. Yeah. So as we are coming down to the deadline, the time of completion, I'll just quickly wrap it up. So Super Heavy basically slowly lowers into atmosphere, and it uses the atmosphere to slow it down.
Okay.
The compression,
Yeah,
the friction.
There's friction, there is heat,
Air resistance.
air resistance.
Yeah. So if you have ever seen the latest launches of this Starship, you can see that it slowly lowers down the height of the altitude, and you can see the heat shields getting hot, red hot. There's a layer of plasma forming in between.
Okay.
Plasma is in the fourth state of matter.
Yeah.
So it is so hot, and because of this heat, it acts like a air brake, like a parachute. And the speed is supposed to come down.
Between the air and the
Yeah.
rocket. That is the process.
And the distance is supposed to come down from 26,000 kilometers to just about below 10,000 kilometers. Just from this one unit. Then
the distance as in
sorry, distance. Sorry, my bad. The speed,
you mentioned speed, so yeah.
the velocity,
The
from
velocity
26,000 kilometers per hour
yeah.
to just about
10.
under 10,000 kilometers per hour.
Which is approximately almost the speed of the booster,
yeah.
which is
Slightly
now
higher.
catchable, which we know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so now once it comes down to the speed, the Starship now does a belly flop maneuver. What is the belly flop maneuver? Okay, the Starship.
I think you're outside the cabin.
The Starship basically comes in this angle of attack, and
Yeah.
then it just slows down. It changes its angle of attack to a very horizontal angle of attack, almost parallel to the ground, and then it just does a belly flop.
I mean, this increases the surface
Surface
area.
Surface
area.
tension.
Surface
Surface
area.
area, which leads to more drag.
More drag makes it slower.
Leading
Makes
to
sense.
lesser.
Heavy physics.
And
energy.
about a kilometer from the surface, it starts 3 of its inner engines, and it does a
comes
flip
back.
maneuver.
Okay.
And you can see the orientation is slightly towards the rear end, and then it just slowly
It lands.
corrects its position, and it lands
Yeah.
on landing legs for initially, and then in future it will use a similar technique for super booster, and it will just catch it. So this is how, again, once it catches it, you can
I think they can't see
Achha.
it because
once it catches it, it just raises it up, corrects to the booster.
and
Fuel.
you can refuel it, and
Yeah.
that is nice.
That is dope. And the Starship, the
is
SpaceX
dope.
team's plan are
No
to
more no.
the SpaceX team's plans are to launch Starships once every day.
Once every
day.
That is
Huge.
that is fun.
So if you want, you can check out the next integrated flight test 7 in mid-January of next year. It's a very cool thing to watch. The plan is to launch Starship. It will separate, the booster will separate. The booster will land, okay? If it gets a go signal, if there are no malfunctions, it will land. I guarantee you. And then the Starship will do the regular routine of doing a suborbital launch or the orbit, and then it will come down and it will land on near the Indian Ocean, near the northwestern part of Australia. Exactly the same profile as flight number 6. So if you want, you can check it out. I highly recommend this. So that explains your question, that what innovation has SpaceX done in this
So
industry.
it is a big innovation. So
So the turnaround time of this will be 24 hours. Currently, the fastest turnaround time of any rocket is done by Falcon 9.
what is turnaround?
Turnaround time is basically
The reusability time.
right?
not reusability. It's basically like
Time
okay,
it takes
so
to
not the second
relaunch.
launch.
Yeah,
So
relaunch
once,
that rocket.
yeah, not the same rocket.
Okay.
Any rocket. If you want to launch a rocket, and if you want to launch the second rocket after that, so it takes a lot of time, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean there is a lot of preparation.
Yeah, most companies just build a rocket.
Right.
So
Right.
it is about a few months for turnaround time currently.
Yeah.
Falcon 9 can do it in about, I think, 21 days.
And
That
this
is
is
also-
breaking that.
Starship
This
is
is
going to
going
go in
in
24
hours.
hours.
That is
And now
24
it's going to
hours.
go in 24 hours. That is nice.
I think the next thing we'll know is rocket launch in every 5 minutes.
I hope so that happens.
That will be fine. I guess when we reach Mars, we will need to arrange transport from Earth to Mars, like we're doing with trains and planes today.
I can only think about one bad thing about this. That is the carbon emissions that it will make.
Okay, so fun fact about that: Starship does not use liquid hydrogen. It uses liquid methane, which is a very, very clean source of fuel.
And so Elon
So
has really
you are
thought.
telling me there is no carbon emissions.
There are carbon emissions, but
But less in
much
number.
less in number. Yeah. So
Elon
I'll
has-
compare with Falcon 9. Falcon 9 uses RP1. The fuel name is RP1. It is basically a refined kerosene. Since it's a carbon-based, it's a very heavy chain of carbons. It's a hydrocarbon. Right? There's a lot of chains in that one molecule. So because of that, it produces a lot of soot inside engines. But Starship will not because it uses methane. And guess what? Elon's plan is on Mars. Mars has a lot of methane. Mars has a lot of carbon dioxide in its atmosphere. And by using the Sabatier process, they can convert carbon dioxide into methane and oxygen.
So they can use that to
rocket fuel.
come back to.
So it's all planned.
That is all Elon has thought of.
Elon.
That is why Elon is Elon, I guess. So.
And I'm very excited for the next few decades
I
because
think if naming his kid that whatever that was is justified.
Do you think India will soon use this technology because it is growing and India has shown potential? So and we are also known for doing low budget missions successfully. So obviously it is a very big step, but
personally I think there's a big way to reach that point. I think the first person to land on, the first person to go in space, that was Yuri Gagarin. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. When did that happen?
I think it was during the space race.
The original
back
space
in
race.
the 90s.
I think 60s.
60s
or 50s.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm
So
wrong. Chat in the comments if you have the right answer.
It's been around how many years? Around 60 years since that has happened, and we are about to send someone to space. I think there's a long way to get there.
I feel India is taking a giant leap towards the space sector, and I think it is only a matter of I would say more 10, 15 years, I think maximum, and I think we should be able to achieve such a technology.
Okay, I'll say 2 points before ending this. To answer your question, right? India is already taking some steps for reusable launch vehicles.
We already have reusable. We had the landing, not like this landing, but like how a plane lands, basically like that.
So basically, ISRO is developing a reusable launch vehicle. It is not yet designed, but it is in the books. They are looking into this. Okay, and the fact that you mentioned that India is poised to become a superpower, the one hurdle that it needs to solve, and it is slowly solving, is to commercialize its private sector, which it does not at this point. We will cover this in our next podcast. The next podcast topic is going to be Indian private space sectors. Yeah, and it will be.
There are quite a few.
There are a few.
There are a few which are. There is Skyroot is there.
I think the only way India will reach this point is by either more indigenous innovations or by collaborating with these other space research organizations.
Yeah, we need a technology for that, and we are slowly developing this. Okay. It's just a matter of few decades, and I believe that the future, the science fiction is it's going to come out of the fiction and it's going to be a reality. And with that,
that is interesting. I mean, it's a great age to be in this field.
Space.
I mean, that is why we are doing this podcast, right? To spread awareness, to make other people want to get into this sector, and it is an interesting field and full of endless possibilities. So
I think that's a good note to end this podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
this will be covered by our new team. They'll introduce themselves in the next episode.
Sadly, this is I think maybe the last time we are doing it, but
last podcast.
Okay,
we're not. Somebody is shaking their head.
I'll tell you, if there's a huge demand for us to return in the comments, we'll surely do it.
Do you think people want us? That is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can check out the social media. You can check out our stories, Instagram. See, there's a QR code, links, it might be floating around somewhere. You can click here, there. And
subscribe.
Please subscribe.
You will find our social medias in the description. Make sure to give us a follow.
Yeah.
And give us a follow as well. That is Astronomy.
Yes.
I think that is it. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Kailash Catch.
What?
Have a happy
Kailash
married
Catch?
life.